Oh, well, you look different.
No, it is. I've gone back. This is my natural colour, everyone. This is the Italian, not being hidden by the bleach and the blonde. But yes, no, that is. Yeah. Anyway,
Done.
Why are we here, Rob?
Well, we are here to talk about a film.
Yes.
Not just any film.
We're never here for that.
No, never. But not just any film.
No.
We are here to talk about The Depahhhted.
The Depahhhhted.
A retrospective on The Depahhhted.
The Depahhhted.
And she's going to be saying that throughout the whole video. It's going to get very annoying.
That's how you have to say the movie.
Yes, of course. Now, obviously, with these retrospectives, we pick movies where, say, one of us has seen the film and the other one maybe hasn't. In this case, I had seen the film.
Imagine if it was the other way around with this movie.
That's not possible. So, obviously, you hadn't seen it before. And now, have you watched it?
I have.
Wow.
I watched it on Tuesday and it is now Thursday.
Excellent.
So within my 48-hour memory, because I watched it late at night too.
Yes. So,
Yes.
tell us, why had you not seen it until now?
It's no specific reason. I felt like I might like it. I mean, to be fair, when it came out, it was 2006. Your girl was 12. She wasn't exactly into... Were you fact-checking my own age?
No, yeah, I think I might have been. Yeah.
I know how old I was. I was in year 6. I was 11 going on 12. So depending on what month it came out. I wasn't really into movies like The Departed. I was more into your Mean Girls and your Clueless and starting to discover rom-coms and fantasy and that sort of stuff. So also, it's not also a movie that my parents would have naturally brought me to. And so, I just kind of missed it, like, a lot of Scorsese stuff when you're younger.
So I almost have like the opposite history with this film, is that I think I was a year older than you at the time. And
13, for those following at home.
Yes, for those who can do math. So
first year of high school.
Yes, first year. So I was a big boy. I was a big hard boy.
You're a teenager.
I wanted to go see the gritty crime movie. It was around the point where I was starting to have like a proper interest in film, and therefore, the name Scorsese comes up a lot. But at that point, I had actually not seen a Scorsese film.
Right. So this was the first Scorsese film?
It was my first Scorsese film, and I saw it in the cinema at the time, because it was before cinemas were like actually bothering to check whether or not you met the age restriction.
Oh, I used to just go to MA15 plus movies with my dad. Yeah. And then you're allowed to.
No, I always went on my own.
Oh, so, okay. You went on
not with friends. I had friends. Okay.
Like this 13-year-old boy in the cinema.
You're just seeing this fucking violent crime film.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah, but I saw it, and it, I guess, had a immense effect on me, and we'll get into that. And then I bought...
it's suffice to say you like the film.
I'm pretty happy with it, sure. So I bought it, and my parents were like, oh, yes, the new Scorsese movie. Let's watch The Departed. Rob's bought it, and they watched it, and they immediately took it back because they did not want me watching it. They were like, no, our 13-year-old son cannot be watching this film. They took it back. I just went
They were good parents.
I just went and bought it again, but on Blu-ray this time. So, and that is still the Blu-ray copy I have.
And then what did they do? They just like...
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
They were just like, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think when they watch this, they'll find out.
Yeah. Oh no!
Yeah.
You better do something nice for your mum or something right before.
I guess now here comes the big moment. Tell us.
Because Rob doesn't know what I think.
Yes.
He's been dying to ask me.
Tell us your general thoughts.
Okay, so I really liked it. I thought it was extremely well made. It was. I will say this: for a 2-hour and 24-minute movie, it is very engaging. The way that tension is depicted, or the way that tension is built and crafted in this film, I think is masterful. Especially during that foot chase between Damon, that first one between Damon and DiCaprio. I remember I was watching it and I remember capping it at one point being like, oh my God, I'm really into this. Like, I didn't even think about it, but I was extremely tense. And the thing is, actually, so I knew the big twist at the end, but I didn't...
Spoiler alert, just but quickly.
Didn't we already?
No, we didn't.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I remembered like the elevator. I think I remembered that like they both die at the end, but I couldn't quite remember that. I could picture the scene, but I purposefully blurred it in my head. And so I was like in the lead up, I was like, oh my God, I just remember the tension in those foot chases where I'm like, especially those ones where there isn't any like, I'm saying this ironically because Matt Damon literally stabs a guy in the first one, but there isn't intense violence or anything. It's just like on foot and you're like, oh my God, he's gonna catch him, oh, he's gonna catch him, ah! Like, and then there's the bit with the phone where he's like, and I'm like, don't call him, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I think I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well made. I do have some qualms, specifically around the fact that there are 3 women characters in this film. 3. And all of them are there to just be essentially like sex pieces or like love interests for the characters.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
I would say that, and this is me speaking as a male, so obviously, you know, take whatever I say with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I like to try and think that I notice when films are, you know, being a little skewed with their gender diversity. In the case of The Departed, I don't think it's ever really bothered me for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is because let's compare it to the film that it's based on, which is Infernal Affairs, the Hong Kong film. And there's a lot of debate as to whether or not Infernal Affairs is better than The Departed, and they're different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I read a lot about that afterwards.
Yeah. One of the things with Infernal Affairs is that you've got the cop who's actually working for the mob, and he's got his wife, and then you've got a completely separate person that is the...
Oh, I know that Vera Farmiga's character was like 2 or 3 characters
smushed together, correct.
Yeah.
And it's kind of awkward in Infernal Affairs because the DiCaprio-alike character just runs into this woman who he's like, oh, hey, how you going? Yeah, I haven't seen you in years. Oh, I hope you're doing well. And it's like one scene, and it's like... So it's a little weird. And so there's that thing where I think they've done a better job of having more plot utility for that character. And by having her be kind of like the, you know, the third person in the triangle between Sullivan and Costigan, it plays very heavily into the main theme of the film, in my opinion, which is about fatherhood and the worth of fatherhood tied to your morals, right? So for instance, you've got these 2 characters, they've both been with Madeline. We now know that Madeline is pregnant.
Yeah.
However, we, through just what's happened in the story, we can kind of infer that it's not Sullivan's child, it's Costigan's child. The fact that throughout the film Sullivan shows performance issues and he's impotent is thematically linked to who is righteous and who is not.
Yeah.
The film basically is saying that the people who are evil are impotent, and they
do comment on Jack Nicholson too, where they're like, oh, you have so many hookers and no kids.
So that is, I think, kind of why she's there a little bit. And I think, yeah, all right, the film is maybe making just her to be there to, you know, who's she going to get pregnant by.
Yeah.
But in terms of the film literally being about the relationship between fathers and sons and, you know, paternal mentorship in a way.
That's interesting. I didn't really look at it from the fatherhood lens. And I mean, it's possible that I think that it might be something you pick up on more as a guy, just purely having that, like, you know, father-son relationship. And obviously I recognized it was there. But for me, when I was watching the film, what I really connected to was this idea of chosen versus given identity. The movie literally begins with each of them being allocated their identity, no matter whether that's actually like true to who they are. I find it interesting that obviously, you know, you see Sullivan and he has it pretty easy in the police force, and all of a sudden he's a detective. He's having a pretty humdrum life. But then DiCaprio, who we immediately can tell is a very intelligent human being, is being brought in and like told and fucking abused. I read somewhere that DiCaprio described the characterization Costigan as someone who's having a constant 24-hour panic attack, and I was like, I felt like, like I know why he didn't get nominated
because he was nominated for Blood Diamond the same year.
Well, no, he specifically asked not to be campaigned for.
Did he?
Yeah, so I was reading that basically, because he's kind of the lead, but I think he was like, I don't want to be put up against, you know, as a lead against like Matt Damon or anyone else in the... So they didn't campaign. They didn't do any ads. They didn't do any... They left it.
I've always wondered why, because I've for years have thought that his performance in The Departed was much better than his performance in Blood Diamond.
I agree. Yeah. And the reason is because Leo didn't want to go... Like, he didn't want to be nominated over Matt Damon. Because he was like, he's just as important.
On that note, though, can I just say, Matt Damon, like...
Completely different. Honestly, I was like, if it wasn't for the fact that I know it's Matt Damon.
So much.
So much.
But, like, you're meant to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's such a conniving, manipulative, evil son of a bitch.
Yeah, like, he is such...
He's just a dumb shit in Interstellar. Like, you know, in this, he's evil and conniving and manipulative, and he gaslights you, and you know
the gaslighting. Like, yeah, you really... I have to say, I was so impressed with Matt Damon in this, because I agree. Yes, obviously, I think Leo and Jack Nicholson, they have the showier roles. Of course, they get to yell and scream and shout and punch people and beat people over the head with a fucking cranberry, you know, a glass of cranberry juice.
Yeah, I think you almost kind of respect Costello more, because he... Even though there's a bit of like a identity reveal about him, because he's the FBI informant, he's very honest and upfront about it when it's posed to him. So it's like he kind of never...
Of course I'm an FBI informant.
He never hides who he is.
Yeah.
Whereas Sullivan's all he does. He's the most dishonest person that you've ever met.
Yeah.
And that's why you hate him.
Oh, I really hated Sullivan, and then I really wanted Costigan to just have his life and like... live it.
I have to ask you about one scene, because I need to know your reaction to a scene that is particularly upsetting to me. Queenan getting thrown off the roof.
That's when I literally was like, well, now we're fucked. Well, everything's going to shit now, isn't it? Oh, but I have to say that also had one of my favorite performance moments, which is when he's like freaking out and then
having to quickly,
like, that's when you properly see him be like he's panicking, and you're like, oh god, he's gonna blow his cover, it's gonna be a whole thing.
And then the cover nearly gets blown by Depahhhhted anyway.
Oh my god, I know. That was so good. But like, and then the guys come out and he's just like, you know, and I was just like, oh, like, yes, Leo, yes, like, this is why you're Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, the tension is almost at levels that is practically unbearable.
Yeah.
And the way that it really makes you fear for Costigan's life, it almost spills over into you from the screen, you know? Like, I don't think any other crime film or like, you know, mole related film, like, you know, Reservoir Dogs, Donnie Brasco, any of them, none of them get even close to The Departed. And it's also the Depahhhted. And Scorsese himself, I thought, did a very different game from his usual filmography with this one. It might be the most effective film he's ever made in terms of teaching you the crime doesn't pay. You know, because people have taken the wrong messages from Wolf and Casino and Goodfellas about like, ooh, that's awesome, I want to be a gangster. No one's coming out of The Departed wanting to be a gangster or a police officer.
Exactly.
You know?
And now, so we've been talking a lot about, you know, my reaction and that sort of thing. So since your 13-year-old self, you know, it's 16 years later now. And... again, checking my math. How has that changed? How has obviously you've seen it many times over the years, but your most recent viewing versus your first viewing, and how it's changed?
It's a film I've seen so many times that I could quote it top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's also a film that I, you know, as when I discovered it and it blew my mind. The only difference I can make to 13-year-old me was it was probably one of the most hardcore films I'd ever seen at that point.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite an extreme movie even for an adult.
Yeah.
So I really had nothing to compare it to. So when I watched it, I think I loved it, but I wasn't sure if it was good? Is this well written? Is this a classy film, or is this just gratuitous
I don't know if
violence?
classy is the word for it.
Is it an art? Is it an artistic film?
Yeah.
Does it have meaning?
Or is it gratuitous?
And I kind of, for a long time, was wondering those things. And with each subsequent viewing up until this day, it has become more artistic in my mind every time I watch it.
Considering this film's almost 2 decades old, like, it honestly could have come out like last week, and I would have been like, yep. You know, besides the fact that I know that all the actors are way younger.
I would have loved to see a beer-gutted DiCaprio running around chasing a
he could still
balding
do
Matt
that.
Damon.
He could still definitely do that. He just wouldn't have his shirt off. He would just be wearing like a suit or whatever. But like, I will say, actually, I did read something about a sequel following Dignam.
Yeah, no, that was in the works for years, and
It's still like commented on here and there by Mark Wahlberg, and I'm just like, just leave it. Nobody wants it. I've just seen it, and I don't want it. Like, I don't want it. I don't want Mark Wahlberg's like The Departed, but through Mark Wahlberg. Like, he is perfect at the amount of time. We haven't even touched on Alec Baldwin, who's like, I will say...
Oh yeah, he's in it.
Yeah. He's like...
We don't talk about Alec Baldwin.
He's also there.
We don't talk about
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Oh, I really don't talk about him now.
Yeah. You know Rust has resumed?
Has it really?
Yeah.
With him?
I don't know with him, but apparently it's going to be...
Well, it has
resuming.
to, if it's resumed, unless it's restarted. He's the main character.
Resumed. I will fact check that.
Okay, put it up, Rob.
Yeah.
And then if it has resumed, you can just do a zoom in on my shocked face of just like... There you go. Ratings. Now, you are the original. Why don't you go first?
It's a shining treasure. Yeah, like, I mean, I'm going to have it as a shining treasure.
Yeah.
It's one of...
It's the most of shining treasures.
It's one of my favorite movies,
Yeah.
so I can't not have it as a shining treasure.
It's a socks at Christmas. I'm joking.
Hey, you remember that scene with the crowbar?
It's a shining treasure. I didn't come out of it going, whoa, like I did like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is my favorite movie of the year so far.
Not Top Gun Maverick?
No, it's not Top Gun Maverick. I think that's like number 8 or something right now. Unlike Everything Everywhere All at Once, where I walked out of that being like, oh my God, it was insane, you know, and that's just got a lot going on from a completely different end of the scale. I think this one actually, I didn't expect, I will say this, I thought I'd like it. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And I also didn't realize how much I liked it until I'd finished the film. It was one of those where it was like, I was watching it and then I was like, holy shit, I haven't looked at my phone. I've been wanting to look at my phone.
Creeps up on you.
Yeah, and the thing is, to me, story is so important. Story is the most important. If the plot is shit, that's why I am not a purveyor of art house or experimental cinema, because there is no story and it's stupid and pretentious. The pretentiousness of films around not needing a story really affects me in my enjoyment of it, and this one has an extremely well-made story. Like, I'll just say it, that shit is fucking compelling. I think I have to land on Shining Treasure. It's definitely one of the best crime films I've ever seen. A little bit of teaser for a future video there. But yeah, so it's a Shining Treasure. 2 retrospectives out of 2.
Both Shining Treasures.
Shining Treasures. Yay, I think that's our only Shining Treasures. We haven't had a review for a Shining Treasure yet.
Well, no, because every film that's come out now is terrible.
That's not true. We just haven't reviewed the amazing. We just so happened to...
Yeah.
You know, it's been an interesting year so far.
Yes, full of fantastic beasts.
Oh, God. And, you know, dead Marilyn Monroes. Anyway. Well, next time... we're doing something a bit different. It's not a movie that neither of us have seen. It's a film that we've both seen. And that we're going to do that from time to time too. We'll pick a movie that we've both seen and then both reflect on it from a more educated perspective. And our next one will be a very interesting one. Rob, do you want to talk about which one it's going to be?
Remind me what it is.
Huh?
Remind me what it is.
We just talked about it.
Oh, yes. So, throw me that again.
Okay, Rob, do you want to let people know what our next one will be?
The next film we'll be doing a retrospective on is The Help.
There you go.
There you go.
It's going to be an interesting one. I actually haven't seen it in years, so...
I've seen it once at the cinema and I've not bothered to watch it again, so take from that what you will.
I've seen it a few more times.
Take from that what you will as well.
Anyway, on that note, we've got to go.
I'm hungry. So
okay.
I'm going to go eat.
All right. Well, thanks for, again, with the walking off. Thanks for taking a break with Clean Slate.